Today, we made an offer that the Ukrainians have accepted, which is to enter into a ceasefire and into immediate negotiations to end this conflict in a way that's enduring and sustainable and accounts for their interests, their security, their ability to prosper as a nation. We'll take this offer now to the Russians, and we hope that they'll say yes, to peace. The ball is now in their court. And, but again, the president's objective here is, number one, above everything else, he wants the war to end. And I think today Ukraine has taken a concrete step in that regard. We hope the Russians will reciprocate.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio earlier today announcing that Ukraine has agreed to a conditional 30-day ceasefire after he and National Security Advisor Mike Waltz met with a Ukrainian delegation in Saudi Arabia. As part of the agreement, the U.S. will immediately lift the pause on intelligence sharing with Ukraine and resume security assistance to the country. Both sides have also agreed to come up with a deal on mineral resources as soon as possible. Matthew Foldi, do you think Russia is going to agree with this ceasefire deal?
Well, this is the problem, as Chris notes all the time, is Putin is a killer commie. So we'll see what happens. But I think the mineral rights deal is so important for America, and I think it's such a great example of out-of-the-box thinking by the Trump administration. I don't think anyone had even thought about that during the Biden administration. I don't think anyone thought much about Ukraine during the Biden administration in terms of solving this conflict. But this gives America serious skin in the game because no one wants to see Putin take over all of Ukraine. This gives even the Ukrainian skeptic people in America, hey, we now have actual resources on the line here, and it's a great contrast. Or I guess remember how China pillages all of these countries around the world for their mineral rights. We've given Ukraine, we're a great, very generous country. We've given them a lot. It would be nice to get some mineral rights in return.
Right. Well, President Trump responded to the deal at the White House today.
I'll talk to Vladimir Putin, yeah. I want to get, look, that's the other, it takes two to tango, as they say, right? So hopefully he'll also agree. And I really think that would be 75% of the way. The rest is getting it documented and, negotiating land positions, etc.
Chris, it takes two to tango. Will Russia tango?
Well, that remains to be seen, quite honestly, because Putin, as Matthew is pointing out, is a ruthless, merciless killer who cares not one whit about 1 million lives or 10 million lives. The Chinese let loose that Wuhan virus, and they say 7 million people killed. Nobody bats an eye.
Right. And
Putin is in the same camp. He doesn't care about the lives of his own troops or his own people or anybody else because he's an old KGB killer. Now, President Trump, I think, has something in mind for him. There are carrots and there are sticks. You want to incentivize Putin to come to the table. Right now, I've got to say, Putin is the outlier, though, and President Trump has brought the Ukrainians inside the tent, and they're on the side of the angels on this, the United States on the side of the angels. Putin is the outlier now, and President Trump will start putting the screws to him.
Do you think, Daniel, our negotiating team is strong enough to get to the finish line in terms of this Russia-Ukrainian deal?
I think they are. What they don't have is actually Keith Kellogg, who is Trump's envoy for the Ukrainian peace conflict, trying to make a peace deal, and he wasn't even in Saudi Arabia. So we have a story out today of quoting administration insiders saying, hey, this raises real questions about Kellogg's role. Has he been supplanted by Waltz and Rubio? Are they going to get the Nobel Peace Prize and he won't? And so
the Nobel Peace Prize is a horrible institution that will never give Republicans credit for anything ever.
Trump would definitely take it, though.
They will never give it to him. They'll never
100%, but he'd never give it.
Obama should give his back.
Obama should give his to Trump. Okay.
Yeah, he should.
Okay, Vladimir Zelenskyy said he's ready to make the deal, posting on X, I am grateful to President Trump for the constructive conversation between our teams. Ukraine is ready to accept this proposal. We see it as a positive step and are ready to take it. Now it is up to the United States to convince Russia to do the same. If Russia agrees, the ceasefire will take effect immediately. Elizabeth, this is such a different tone than what we saw at the White House, a week and a half ago in the Oval Office?
It sure is. Of course, President Trump said leading up to that visit that peace in Ukraine and into the fighting and into the death was the goal. And then, unfortunately, Zelenskyy had an opportunity to come to a peace agreement for his people, gave that up, showing unprofessionalism, disrespect from the moment he arrived in a sweatsuit. So I think that it is great to see that he's changing his tune. It's certainly interesting to think what would have occurred between that meeting and now to get him to change his mind. But great to see Trump's policy and diplomacy working for the end that I think everybody wants here.